And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai, okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Afrikani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Afrikani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in Northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of Northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as a Middle East. You know, and then since this the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West? Where the Middle North and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. If you could hear my mic clearly, just type 1. If you could hear my mic clearly, just type 1. Hope all is well with you guys. Decided to do a live tonight. It's been I know I really haven't had the opportunity or the chance because of a lot of stuff on my plate to do a scheduled live. So I'll things will ease up and I'll get back to scheduling my lives. And so tonight I want to. Oh, great! I'm glad you guys could hear the mic clearly. And so tonight, what I want to do tonight, and I'm sure you guys have asked a question. I get asked the question a lot. And I've even had many ask me, hey, Pastor, can you send me a calendar to, for the feast days? And so what I'm going to do tonight, I want to show you how to calculate the feast days, starting with the Passover. That's the one we're going to cover tonight. And it's a lot that's going to lead up into it. I want to say shout outs real quick before I get into the lesson. I see my cousin here, and family, show some love for my cousin. Let me see. I thought I saw her here. Let's see here. Let me see if I still see her. I thought I saw her name here. Let me see if I see my cousin. Hey, there she is. Give some love, show some love to my cousin, Shalonda Carr, the wife of the late Dr. Sean Carr, my cousin. So show her some love. She just been holding it down, prayer warrior. So let's show my cousin some love, family, for what her and her husband has done in this awakening. Done so much, labored so much for Yah's people. So let's show my cousin some love here. Hallelujah. I appreciate you, cuz. And I thought I saw Apostle here as well. Show some love for Apostle Curtis. Really appreciate you, Apostle Curtis Lewis. Hallelujah. And so, family, what I want to do tonight, and I know I'm not going to get into all the shout outs right now because of the amount of material that I have here. That's why I cut my intro down a little, just to get right to the lesson, because I don't want to prolong this lesson. And I know it's a lot of information I'm going to cover. So I got a couple more lessons I'm going to do over the next couple of days. And this weekend, I'm going to test out on the extended channel. I'm going to test it out this upcoming Shabbat. Do our live on there from the Shabbat, because I know I've been stating that I want to get our Shabbat going again. So we have cameras, professional cameras. We have a professional video mixing board. We just now need to test it out. And I know we were trying to, clear up the audio. We had a couple of audio issues with the quality of it. So, but we'll test it out tomorrow. And in his will, we'll have it up this Shabbat. So the goal is every Shabbat at 12 o'clock, we will begin our lessons on We Woke Now Extended. And so I'm going to drop that link inside the comments section. And if you are not part of that or subscribe to that channel, I encourage you guys to go ahead and subscribe to that channel. So let me see if I can pull it up real quick here. And I want to say shout outs to the moderators. If you guys get it before I do, drop the link in the comments section. But I may have it here. Yep, I got it right here. So I'm going to drop the link in the comment section, and let's get the membership up on there. I know we haven't really done a lot over there. What I do right now, I do dual lives here and over there. So my goal is to start using that more and more, especially when it comes to doing these live teachings, especially when we're dealing with the Shabbat and feast days and things along that line. So let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link here. All right. This is the link here. And again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, I encourage you guys to subscribe to that channel. Let's get the likes. Get the subscribers up on that channel. I think right now, when I saw there's about 2,300 subscribers. So let's get this channel built up, so that way, should something happen over to this channel, because there's a lot that YouTube has been doing to suppress this channel, with sending out notifications, with demonetizing the channel for no reason, to giving strikes on videos that have been sitting here for years. That makes absolutely no sense. Lying, literally. I made some of the posts showing you guys how they even tried to say one of my videos had pornography in it, nudity in it. The video about the niggas or niggas. They tried to say that it had contained nudity and all that stuff in it. Even what they did with the breadcrumbs, the Road to Savannah Part 2, how they suppressed that video, with all kinds of crazy stuff of saying that, very sensitive and all that other stuff. So, but with that being said, family, I'm not going to prolong it here any longer as far as getting into the lesson. So the questions that I'm going to answer tonight is, when was the first Passover? When was the first Passover? Right? And when you understand the first Passover, you can line it right up with the day that the Messiah was lynched. I know many of you guys would say crucified, but when we understand the term lynching and understand what that entails, the Messiah was lynched, right? He was lynched. So I'm going to show you, if you understand the very first calendar year of the Hebrew Israelites, you will be able to calculate all the feast days from moving forward, right? Dealing with the Gregorian calendar versus the ancient Hebrew calendar. And we're going to use scripture. All right. So let's go to get into it. Let me enlarge in this here. All right. So the first Passover. Next time we're going to come together, I'm going to show whether or not if we should we honor the Shabbat, this Passover, this Passover, because it is a Shabbat, right? And unfortunately, some within this community, they would teach and say stuff like, well, you can't honor it because there's no temple. You can't honor it because there's no Jerusalem. We don't have our own land. And if they understood the very first Passover, the first Passover, they'd understand that they were in Egypt, they were in Goshen when they honored the very first Passover, the very first Passover. And then from there, they went into the desert, the wilderness, Madabar, and for over 38 years, they continued to honor all the feast days. So those are some of the things, some of the questions we're going to answer. And I'm sure you guys, will understand that, it's very simple to knock down a lot of these talking points. And this is why it's imperative for you to learn these scriptures, understanding the importance of discernment for yourself. There's a lot of stuff that are floating around in this awakening, that are not scripture. A lot of teaching that's going on that's not scripture, and actually, many have jumped out of the frying pan of Christianity right into the fire of some of the deception that is going on with some of the teachings. I'm not saying all within this awakening, but there are some eyebrow raising teachings that are going on that's contrary to the Dabar HaQuadash, which is the holy word in ancient Hebrew, what I just pronounced. All right, family. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right. We're going to start off with understanding what's special about the third day. What is so special about the third day? And we're going to answer this question because, uh, and you guys can type this inside the comment section if you had these questions while you were in Christianity. I mean, when I was in Christianity and even after going to school and all that stuff, getting my degree, within in divinity, right? One of the questions that I couldn't answer initially because of being indoctrinated to seeing the scriptures a certain way is how in the world do you get 3 days out of a day and a half? Right. And I remember, I remember because I always taught against Easter and everything. And so I had the resurrection services where though the last 7 sayings of the Messiah and all those different things. But the one question I could not answer is how do you get a day and a half? How do you get 3 days into a day and a half? And so there was all kinds of crazy formulas, and one of the popular one that in Christianity have used and many still use is that okay, for even if it's 2 minutes, right, of one day left, right? If you do anything within that 2 minutes of that particular day, even if it's 2 minutes, then that still counts for a full day. So Friday, we start getting into the 9th hour and all of that, just before when the Messiah gave up his last breath, just that small little section, they say count it as a day, a full day. Then you have the Shabbat, right? Full day. Then, of course, Sunday morning, the first day of the week, which he was already gone, they say still count that as a full day. Have you guys heard that one before? If you heard that one before, type 1. If you heard some of that stuff, type 1. And we'll go through some of your responses here. If you haven't, type 2. But we're going to answer this question, why the third day is so special. Let's see here. Hawkeye says yes. Pamela Anthony says yes. Let's see who else here. Danielle Floyd, she said yes. Kimmy Ya, says yes. Let me slow this down here so I can see. Mama's Baby, Truth Academy, haven't heard of it, excuse me. Malaka Bat Ya to the remnant. Correct. The foolishness, bring it out. Absolutely. My sister, let's see here. Alexandria Leggett, she said too. So she haven't heard it. Appreciate the love and support, my sister. And let's see here. Haiti. Peace and blessings to our brothers and sisters out in Haiti. Heard that before. Sharon R. Haven't heard it. Anieki, haven't heard it. Well, no, have heard that. Okay. And we have Jacqueline Waller. Haven't heard it. So many of you guys have heard it. Some of you guys haven't heard it. Kadarian Gent, haven't heard it. I have heard it. Let me see here. Ayawa Evans, heard the nonsense as well. Sophia Kelly, haven't heard it. Let's see who else. Lenya Huda, she heard that nonsense as well. Quran has heard it. Carrie has heard it. No, haven't heard it. Jakari heard it. My cousin, shout outs to my cousin again. She's heard it. Let's see here. Jacqueline, uh, they didn't try to explain it. Yes, some just don't try to explain it. Yvette, Sister Yvette, haven't heard that one. Let's see here. Almost there. A few more. Let's see here. And if I don't get to you, some of you guys here, I'll definitely get to you in the next when I ask the next set of questions. Com 12, yes. And lastly, let's see here. Haven't heard that. Wasn't raised in the church. All right. Appreciate it, sis. Thank you for the love and support and taking the time out to watch this this live here. All right. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that goes around that many, that the church just echoed. Some of you guys haven't heard it. Most say that you have heard that. But isn't that the impossible? How do you get 3 days in a day and a half? How do you get 3 days in a day and a half? Right? If your job tell you that you have to, that they're giving you 3 days off, right? You're going to calculate 3 days and 3 nights, right? If anyone can figure out how to get 3 days in a day and a half, you let me know. Let me know. Let all of us know. Because you do that, you will be, it'll be a very lucrative to you, put it that way. It'd be very lucrative to you if you can come up with a formula, mathematical equation of getting 3 days, taking 3 days and condensing it into a day and a half. All right. So we're going to talk about these things. And then the next time we do this in episode 2, we'll talk about whether or not is the Passover is strictly for Israelites to celebrate. We're going to deal with that. We want to touch on that. We'll touch on whether or not if the Messiah celebrated it, whether or not if the disciples or Apostle Paul. We are going to deal with that. All right. So we're going to go ahead and deal with this here. And one of the things that they would tell you is that some of them are saying, oh, yeah, also Passover, not this Shabbat coming up. Next week is our Passover. All right. And Cindy, shoot me an email. I'm not sure if you got the address. Shoot me an email. I know my email has been flooded. I'm trying to get caught up, but shoot me an email so that way I can, if you don't have the address, you can reach out to me. Matter of fact, I'll post our temple address here. And for those that want to come and visit us, I know it's short notice for many of you guys, and you want to come and celebrate the Shabbat with us. We don't charge anything. If you have an appetite, come on. If you want to worship, come on. We don't do all that charging and all that other stuff. We take care of all the food expenses and all. Let me see here. And matter of fact, we're going to do baptism as well. Let me see. I'm just typing in the address. All right. Here's the address, and we're located literally minutes away from the airport. All right. So there's the address for those that are in the area. The service starts at 12. For those that are interested in coming out and just, celebrating the Shabbat with us. All right. We're going to have a great time. We are going to have a great time. All right. So let's go to get into it. All right. Let's get into it. What is so special about the third day? So that was the mathematical equation I was trying to solve, right? How do you get that, 3 days into a day and a half? So we want to discuss these things, but here's the importance of the third day, right? This is the importance of it. Let's start with Hosea chapter 6, verse 1 and 12, 1 through 2. Excuse not 1 and 12, but 1 and 2, excuse me, fumbling right now tonight. And we're going to answer these questions because some will now try to say that the 3 days and 3 nights was just a idiom. They use the term idiom. And when you understand the difference between idioms and personifications, an idiom is a pretty much a metaphor, right? If I say it's raining cats and dogs outside, right? You guys know it's not literally cats and dogs are not falling out of the sky, but that is just using metaphors, expressions to describe the intensity of the storm. So personification is giving a gender, right, to an object. Like many of you guys may refer to your cars as Betsy and whatever nicknames you have. We know that the cars are not doesn't have a gender, but that's what personification is. So when you see like let wisdom have her perfect work, right? We know that wisdom is not it's not feminine, right? But that is an example of personification, right? And again, idioms is metaphors, right? To express, place the point of emphasis on certain thoughts you're trying to relay, so or convey rather. So some would try to say inside the church that the 3 days and 3 nights is an idiom, but then when you ask them about the 40 days and 40 nights, that's not an idiom. That's literal, right? When you ask some other dates, literal. But when you get to these 3 days and 3 nights, idiom. When you get to Jonah, literal. But when you get to the 3 days and 3 nights, an idiom. All right. So let's start with Hosea chapter 6, verse 1 and 2. All right, here it goes. Come, let us return, Shawab, right? Unto Yahweh, for he hath torn Tarap, and he will heal Rapah or Rapa'ah us. He hath smitten, and he will bind Kabash us up. Let me read it again. Come, let us return unto Yahweh, for he hath torn, and he will heal us. He hath smitten, and he will bind us up. Verse 2. After 2 days, notice what it says. After 2 days will he revive us, and the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. This is a major nugget. This is a major nugget. All right. So what is the meaning of resurrection? Let me just type it in put this here and let's touch on this real quick, because many truly don't understand what resurrection means from a how can I put it, an Israelite perspective, right? Because the way we think of resurrection, we think that resurrection occurs when you die. That's why many of our ancestors were sold this bill of goods, losing their hope. Like, hey, you know what? Don't worry about how hard it is. Don't worry about the abuse and oppression that you're dealing with. You know what? It'll get better once you die. Resurrection doesn't start when you die your physical death. It starts right now, just like eternity, right? We're going to live for eternity, but your decision is going to determine what side of eternity. So what is the meaning of resurrection? We're going to answer this question. Here's the Greek definition of the word resurrection. And we'll see anastasia, right? We'll see that it means standing up, recovery, raising to life again, rising again. All right, that's key. Recovery, raised to life again, rising again. So resurrection means standing up again, recovery, raised to life again. Okay. Now, when we go to the Hebrew definition of this word, chaya, right? Notice what it says here. It says to revive, give life, give promised life, recover, repair, restore, in other words, to life, revive, right? Chaya, right? Or you in Israeli, when you see the plurality of this, it'll be chayim, right? In the ancient is chayam. But anyway, revive. So this means that when you see someone that's being revived that may be unconscious and they lose the ability to breathe, when the paramedics come to revive that person, right? It's a continuous process. They're not trying to just blow air or oxygen into the person's nostrils one time. It's a continuous blowing. That's why you see the plural of the word when the Most High blew the breath of life into Adam, because you'll see Kayam or Kayayam, or in the Israeli Chaim. It's because the Most High didn't just do it one time. It was a continuous process. Then man became, right, living. All right. But anyway, so recover, repair, restore. In other words, restore to life, revive, be whole. Right. And that's another key right there. Be whole. He touched me, right? You know that song. He touched me and he made me whole. See, many of our brothers and sisters, when you really don't understand these things here, as far as like you get healed, you could be healed of an infirmity, but not be made whole. When the Messiah healed someone, he said, your faith, right? He said, your faith. He said, your faith. All because of faith, consistency. That's what faith means: consistency, trust, belief, going to the right hand. Your faith has made you what? Whole. In other words, what whole means is that every aspect of your life is healed, not just you getting healed of an infirmity, but every aspect of your life, like with the lepers, right? The one that returned. The Messiah made it clear: your faith, your Aman, has made you whole. In other words, you didn't just get healed as you was walking the instructions out, as you was walking it out. He said you were made whole because of your faith, your belief, your trust. In other words, he was healed in every aspect of his life. Relationships repaired, resources that he lost repaired, everything that he lost repaired. And I'm going to say it again: resurrection for our community does not start when we die. And if you understand Ezekiel chapter 37, you'll see that resurrection starts while we are alive, because we can be living with no hope. Living in with no hope is like being the living dead. The Most High gave a prophecy, and he gave the fulfillment of the prophecy. We're going to be in our graves. And then he said, when I pull you out of your graves. So as a community, right now, we're in a state of confusion, because that the valley of dry bones is all about confusion. That's what it is. It's about confusion. That's expressing that Israel is in a state of confusion. But the Most High will pull us out of that confusion. He'll pull us out of our graves. He's going to revive us. So resurrection doesn't start when you die. It starts while you are alive. So again, those valley of dry bones, it represents the confusion of the Israelites. They was unrecognizable. That's why many can't recognize us right now, because of the confusion that's among our people. That's the truth. If we get to just get into the root of many of the people, I'm not saying all, because others just have intent agendas, but many of them is because they don't recognize us, because we're in a state of confusion. Okay, so kaya, it means to revive. It means to give life or give promised life. It means to recover, repair, restore to life, revive, be whole. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to just be healed. I want to be made whole. So resurrection means to restore to life. It means to revive. Because if you study scripture, Lazarus wasn't the only person that was resurrected. He wasn't the only one that was revived. Study Elisha rather. When you study Elisha, what happened? Did he not resurrect the boy, the son, right? The woman's son who died in the field. See, we have to understand, see, if we're not careful, we would think that everything occurred after the Messiah died. Or, according to the church, we think that Israel, the ancient Israelites, didn't know anything about resurrection. They didn't know anything about born again. They didn't know anything about baptism. All of these things they knew clearly. They clearly knew what it was about because they did those things. But the key is the Messiah said, right, when we start understanding him being as our high priest, guess what? He's saying that he said that I am the resurrection. I am the revival. I am the kaya. I am the one that will make you whole, right? Because we have to come through him in order to get to the Father. So I am the bringer of life, right? He is the bringer of a life, not death. But anyway, resurrection means to restore to life. It means to revive. Okay. So here's the prophecy, the Messiah's prophecy of resurrection. Let's see what he says about the resurrection. Matthew chapter 12, verse 39. But he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. Let me read it again. Because see, you had the Pharisees, trying to challenge him, asking for signs. Doesn't that sound familiar? How many times you guys have gotten asked for signs? Oh, you say you're Israelite, prove it. Show me the DNA. You show them DNA. Oh, that's not good enough. Oh, prove it. You show them other forms of proof of it. That's not good enough. Why? Because they don't care about those things. Because again, just like the Messiah was dealing with, an evil and adulterous generation. In other words, when you look at adulterous, that's covenant breaking. That's going out there chasing after other deities. We're married to the Most High. We're bound to him through covenant because of starting with Abraham, but because where our generation is, we enter into all kinds of other relationships with other deities by what? Worshiping or things that we activities we engage in, starting with when you understand yoga. Yoga is a form of worship in Hinduism. That's what that's all about. Anyway, but he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, ath or atha, and there shall be no sign, ath or atha, which means signs, it means proof, it means evidence, right? The first letter of the Hebrew alap bayat is the alap. The last letter is the tha. So when Revelation chapter 1, when you read it, where it says, I'm the Alpha and Omega, no, the proper Hebrew thought is, I am the and the Tha. In other words, I am the signs. All signs come from the Most High. All the signs come from the Most High. And there shall no sign be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. Now listen here. Verse 40, for as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. It's very clear right here what he's referring to. He's not dealing with idioms here, but we're gonna walk this out. All right. So what day was the Messiah or Hamashiach restored to life? What day was he revived? All right. What day was the Messiah revived? Was it the first day of the week, which was Sunday, or was he revived on the Shabbat? All right. What day was he revived? Let me see if I could put a questionnaire here. All right. Let me try this here. Haven't done this in a minute, but let me go ahead and put one up in here. All right. Let's see here. And for those that want to, let me put my Cash App up here. For those that want to sow any sow to the ministry, let me put here cash. I'll put this up on here. All right, so that way that is pinned. All right. So let me put this up here right now. Let me put a question up here. All right. Let's see here. What day? If I could do it, let me see if I could change it here. Oh, yeah, I can. All right. So I'll put. All right. So I'm going to add this here. All right. And we'll go over the poll. And I encourage everyone, hit the like and subscribe to the channel. Let's get these likes up. I know that the notifications are not going out because I can tell by according to the numbers I see here about the views right now on the channel, but it's all good. But let's get those likes right now. We're at 69. Hit the like and subscribe to the channel. And want to encourage everyone, hey, if you if you could participate in this this poll here. Right now we got 11 votes. We'll let that we'll ride that out a little bit. Okay. So all right. So this is what we're going to answer. The day that the Messiah was restored to life. All right. We already got a clue in Hosea. So what day was the Messiah up again? We're going to answer the question. How important is it to know this information? And family, one of the keys is understanding that the Shabbat is a sign between the Most High and his people. That's the key right there. He makes it clear in Exodus chapter 31 that the Shabbat is a sign between Israel and him. When the Messiah revealed himself and far as this, his glory to the disciples, it was on the Shabbat. He gave them a major sign on the Shabbat. So suddenly, the first day of the week is what they're saying. This sign took place. This resurrection took place. All right. So how important is this information? It's very important. Hamashiach being raised up again is very important to the restoration of hope to a dead people. Very important. So what is a day? And we're going to walk this out. I know some of you guys are going to probably say, like, wait a minute, Pastor, why are you asking this question? That's trivia, but I'm asking it for a reason. What is a day and when did it start according to Scripture? What is a day? And we're going to answer this question. What is a day and when did it start according to Scripture? When we go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 5, notice what it says. And Elohim, and you may say, some of you guys may say Elohim, right? But in Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening, Arab, in the morning, Yom, were the first day. All right. So when we go to Leviticus 23, verse 32, we get some idea here. It says here, it shall be unto you a Shabbat of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at evening, from evening unto evening. So we see a full 24-hour cycle. We see a full day here. From evening unto evening shall ye celebrate your Shabbat. Okay. So how many days, how many hours are in a day? Right. I know this sounds trivia, but how many hours in a day? Because this is to kind of clear up some of the stuff that some of our brothers and sisters are circulating. I'm not saying all, but some of our brothers and sisters are struggling even with what I just asked. How many hours are in a day? Right? How many hours are in a day? And we're dealing with it from a biblical perspective. Did the Messiah, did Hamashiach know the number of hours in a day? Right? So let's go to John chapter 11, verse 9 and 10. It's right here in front of us. It says here, And Yahushua, Jesus the Christ, answered, are there not 12 hours in a day? Now, this is where many of our brothers and sisters mess up at. I've had people flood the comment section. I've had, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, I've had people reach out to me on Messenger. I've had uh, you know, conversations on this with them saying that there's only 12 hours in a day, and they're referring to a full 24-hour cycle according to scripture, and they're taking this quote out of context. Yahushua answered, are there not 12 hours in a day? If any man walk in the day, and that's the clue, if any man walk in the day, so he's referring to the 12 hours in the day, the light portion of the day. If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. So what he's saying is during the day, the 12 hours of the day, the light portion of the day, he's not dealing with the night in this first portion of it. So he's making it clear there's 12 hours in the light portion of the day. But then when we see here, but if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth. So he's not referring to a 24-hour cycle as being 12 hours. He's referring to the light portion of the day, and then he makes reference to the night. So the light portion of the day is what he's referring to. If any man walk in what? The day, the light portion of the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. So there is 12 hours in the daylight portion, the day portion of the day. That's what he's saying. He's not saying that there's 12 hours in the 24 hours, a full day cycle from evening to evening. So I want to make sure you guys understand this, because again, there's a lot of poor understanding of the text that's circulating. So Hamashiach understood how to tell time, family. So how many days in 72 hours? How many days are there in 72 hours? I think all of us can answer this pretty safe and say that it's 3 days, right? Because he's making it clear. But let's go back to this prophecy. The Messiah is laying it out here. He's not saying it's an idiom. He's making it clear that this is what's going to happen, right? His death, burial, and resurrection was not an idiom. He's making it clear it's literal. John chapter 2, verse 19 through 21. Yahushua answered and said unto them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Now, notice what he does. He's not going to just leave it general here. He's not going to leave it generic here. He's going to be more definitive with what he's saying. Then said Judah, 46 years was the temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? Like, wait a minute. See, they took what he said literal here, even though he's using the temple. Right now, this is where we get into an idiom, because he's referring to his body as the temple. They're thinking literal, but he's using an idiom to stress his point that his body, his temple, he's saying that it's going to be destroyed, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Then said Judah, 46 years. In other words, 46 years was this temple in building. So it took 46 years to build this temple. Wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? So he's saying you want to destroy this temple. And then in 3 days later, even though it took 46 years to build this temple, you're going to do it in 3 days. You're going to tear it down and build it up in 3 days. But he spake of the temple of his body. So this is an example of an idiom. Right. So when I say example of an idiom is the Messiah, I want to make sure I'm clear on that. I don't want anyone misquoting me. This is him referring to his body as the temple. Right. He's using the body. He's using the word temple to really place the point of emphasis on this miraculous event that's going to take place. the sign that's going to be given. But he spake of the temple of his body. So when is the ninth hour? We're going to highlight that. When is the ninth hour? Right? And did I put it in here? Let me make sure I put it in here. I think I may have accidentally taken it out when I was editing my presentation. All right. Did I put it in here? Let me make sure here. I thought I put it in here. Because the Messiah made it clear. Yeah, I think I took it out by accident. Let me see here. Let me make sure if I need to add. Let me see something here. Yeah, I may have accidentally taken the scripture out with Jonah. Let me make sure here. Yeah, let me copy that in real quick. Oh, no, it's here. It's here. I thought I took it out. We'll get to that. We'll show that it's literal. We'll get to that. All right. I thought I took it out. All right. So, but we'll get to that. Hold that thought on Jonah. We'll get to that in a second to prove that the Messiah is making it clear 3 days, 3 nights, 3 24-hour full day sessions, if we want to call it that, or blocks of time, is when he's go from the time that he gives up his last breath to the time of his resurrection, 3 full 24-hour cycles. So when we go to Matthew chapter 24, verse 46 and 47, notice what it says. About the 9th hour, Yahushua cried with a loud voice saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. Now, family, I didn't do it here, but he's not dealing, this has nothing to do with the Sabbath. Some would say that this is saying this word right here is Sabbath keepers. We'll clear this up in another lesson. But this has nothing to do with Sabbath keeping right here. I know when you see Sabbath, someone say Sabbath, Sabbath and all that. No, it's not. This has nothing to do with the Shabbat. This word right, this phrase right here. So Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my Alahayim, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them that stood there, when they heard that he said, this man calleth for Elias. All right. So when we go to Mark chapter 15, verse 34, 35, mouth of two or three witnesses, we see here referring to the 9th hour again. It says, and at the 9th hour, Yahushua cried out, he cried with a loud voice saying, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which is being interpreted, my Alahayim, why hast thou forsaken me? Okay. Now, when we go to the 22nd book of Psalms, verse 1, right? Let's confirm this. We see Alai, right? Alai or Alaya, lama izabathani. So this is the actual phrase that you see in this text. Izabathani, right? So alaya, lama izabathani. We don't see anything that says it's Sabbath. I know this is a far stretch by saying Zabath, right? Notice this is a Zion in the Israeli Zayin. This reads, right? Alai or alaya, why lama has thou forsaken me? That's what this is forsaken me. Izabathanai. Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roarings? So I encourage you guys, if you really want to understand this expression that he said up on the Messiah said up on the cross, on the tree, guess what you do? Read the Psalms here and you get to really understand how he felt on that tree. But this has nothing to do with the Shabbat. This has everything to do with him feeling as the Messiah felt like the Most High forsaking him. All right. So I just wanted to give you some cross references here with Scripture. So here's the key understanding. In other words, the biblical hours. The key to understanding the biblical hours. So this is what is called the Qumran sundial, right? Ancient sundial, right? This is a sundial, ancient sundial. Okay. The identification of the object as a sundial was based on a publication of the Shrine of the Book in Jerusalem, where most of the intact Dead Sea Scrolls are kept. This supposed sundial was found at the same time as the ancient scrolls, and at first, archaeologists thought it was simply a stone disc. It was locked away in a vault until recently being discovered, where it was found to be a sundial, right? So this is sundial. Although previous timekeeping methods and charts were found at the Qumran site, it says the discovery of this small sundial provides further evidence that the Qumran interest in the measurement of time. So we see this sundial here. This it's a clock, right? A clock, right? So, and this just giving you more information at the bottom of the dial, and the part that remains hidden when it stands on a flat surface, the form of the Hebrew letter ayan can be seen. All right. So here's another sundial, so to speak, right? The dial of Ahaz, right? This is more of the sundial that Ahaz used. So let's go to the scriptures to prove this. 2 Kings chapter 20, verse 8 through 11. And Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, what shall be the sign that Yahweh will heal me, and that I shall go up into the house of Yahweh the third day? Wait a minute. Remember, we said that third day has a significant meaning. The third day has a significant meaning. Also, the third letter in the Hebrew Aleph Bayat is the Gamal, which means mature, right? It means support. It means store, or should I say sustain? But anyway, Hezekiah said unto Isaiah, what shall be the sign that Yahweh will heal me, and that I shall go up into the house of Yahweh the third day? And Isaiah said, this sign shalt thou have of Yahweh, that Yahweh will do the thing that he hath spoken. Shall the shadow go forward 10 degrees or go back 10 degrees? Right? The Hebrew letter, the Yod, is the 10th letter of the Hebrew Aleph Bayat, and it means redemption. And we see redemption this is what we see happening here. Redeem, recovery, restore, right? Redemption. The prefix re means going back to the original place by undoing. So we see 10 degrees forward or 10 degrees back. And Hezekiah answered, it says, it is a light thing for the shadow to go down 10 degrees, nay, but let the shadow return backwards 10 degrees. Verse 11, and Isaiah said, and Isaiah the prophet cried unto Yahweh, and he brought the shadow 10 ashar degrees backwards, by which it had gone down from the dial, Ma'al Wath of Achaz. So we see the dial of Ahaz here. Now, you guys know I teach ancient Hebrew and we teach the Israeli language, but I want to show you how important these letters are. I want to show you how important these letters are. Right? I'm going to show you this here. All right. This is the Qap. Right? This is the Qap. This letter means circle, horizon. It means balance. The numerical value is 100. This is the pictograph. This is key right here. This is the pictograph of a horizon. sun setting or it could be a sun rising. But this is key right here. The Most High gave me this revelation, and I included in this teaching about this particular letter because it also looks like a sundial, right? Not just a sunset or sun rising, but again, balance. So if we took the top of this off, which would be the night, this would be the day portion of the dial, and it looked just like the dial of Ahaz. All right. So let's prove this. Right. This is this letter. This is the quap. I turned it 45-degree angle to the left. Right. Clockwise. Right. Now we're using this letter as a sundial. That tip that you see here, this is the pen. Right. This is key right here. So now we can use this letter. I'm telling you, you can learn so much about these letters. And we're going to prove the hours in the day. We're going to break down the ninth hour. So we see here the ninth hour, right? The ninth hour is 3 p.m. on the Gregorian calendar. So this is the ninth hour right here. This is the ninth hour right here. But again, on the Gregorian calendar, it would be 3 p.m. So the ninth hour is basically 6 hours ahead, right, of the Gregorian calendar. So this is the ninth hour. So if we went to the 12th hour, which is going into another day, Irab even, right, then that'll be considered 6 o'clock p.m. on the Gregorian calendar. So we're using this letter, the quap, we're using this as a sundial. Okay. Luke chapter 23, verse 44. Notice what it says. It was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness all over the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple rent in the mist. So it was about the 6th hour. Remember, there's like a 6-hour difference, right? So the 6th hour is noon on the Gregorian calendar. Let's prove this, right? We have the 9th hour, which will be 3 p.m. on the Gregorian calendar. Now we see the 6th hour, right, which would be 12 noon on the Gregorian calendar. You see how we mapping out the days, even the Messiah, right? His final hours. So we got the sixth hour, we have the 9th hour. So 12 noon, right? 3 p.m. And this will be 6 p.m. evening going into another day. So what time did Hamashiach die? Well, shortly after the 9th hour, which would be shortly after 3 p.m. on the Gregorian calendar. When we go back to Luke chapter 23, verse 44 and 45, and we're going to get to the Passover because this is still tying into the Passover. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the what? 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. In other words, split down the middle. All right. So it was about the 6th hour. Remember the 6th hour? And this is where we had to add 6 hours to here. And for the Gregorian calendar will be 12 noon. So the 6th hour, right? You know, and then when we go to the 9th hour, the 6th hour to the 9th hour, from 12 noon to 3 p.m. of the Gregorian calendar, darkness. And Yahweh had cried, and when Yahweh Shai cried with a loud voice, said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. So we proven just after, as we see here, just after the what? The 9th hour, which is 3 p.m. Right? And when Yahweh Shai had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the spirit. So Hamashiach's death was shortly after the 9th hour. So let's go back here. Right? So it was darkness from the 6th to the 9th hour. There was darkness here. But just after the 9th hour, he gave up his spirit. right? He gave his last breath just after the ninth hour. Okay, so remember, the sixth hour is 12 noon on the Gregorian calendar. So why was there a sense of urgency in taking the Messiah down from the cross? Well, Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 22 and 23 tells us why. And if a man have committed a sin worthy of death and be put and be to excuse me, and he be to put, I'm messing it up, and he be to be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree. Let me read it again. If a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be to be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is a curse of Elohim, and that thy land be not defiled, which Yahweh Elohim giveth thee for an inheritance. So if a body is laid up all night, it curses the territory, curse the land, as we see here. It says, for he that is hanged is a curse of Elohim, that the land be not defiled. So if the Messiah would have went into the evening, right at 6 p.m., that's going into a new day. He would have had to remain up on there all night. So guess what? Think about what happened to our ancestors in this country. Think about how they lynched us and left our ancestors hanging up all night. Think about that. Think about how the land here is cursed in other territories of leaving our ancestors, lynching our people, and hanging them for sport at night. The good old boys, raping them, doing all kinds of things with them as part of the lynching problem, and then process, and then what? Leaving them hung up all night on a tree or wherever they hung them up on. He or she up on. That's why this land is cursed. So go deep in your studies and start looking at some of the places where a lot of these lynchings took place at. Study Ohio. Look at what we see happening out in Ohio. 2 back-to-back trains derailments with toxic material on it, hazardous material on it. Then you got barges that's in the Ohio River with toxic, material on it. So family, think about how cursed this land is. Not just this land, anywhere they hung our people up and left them up there all night. The land is cursed. What day of the week did the first Passover occur? So we laid out the time of the day. I gave you a visual with the dial of how the hours work here. But now we have to deal with the day of the week of the first Passover. Here's some historical reminders, key reminders for those that don't know. Constantine created Good Friday. Constantine put in an edict to make the first day of the week the official day of worship, to say that this is the day that the Messiah rose on. But he also created Good Friday. Let me show you here. This is coming from The History of the Church by Philip Schaff. Notice what he says here. And at the same time, enjoined the observance of Friday in memory of the death of Christ. So this is dealing with the Sunday worship, the edict that he passed to make sure that legally, let's see if I have it back here. Right? You see here, legal sanction of Sunday. This is kind of grayed out. You may not see it all, but it says here, right? I'll read some of this out here since I don't think I have it up in my slides. So I'll read some of this here. It says, the state indeed should not and cannot enforce its observance upon anyone, but may undoubtedly and should prohibit the public disturbance and profanation of the Christian Sabbath, the Christian Sabbath. This is not the Sabbath that the disciples honored. This is dealing with the converts. And protect the Christians in their right and duty of its proper observance. Constantine in 321 forbade the sitting of courts and all secular labor in towns on the venerable day of the sun, as he expresses himself, perhaps with reference at once to the sun god Apollo and to Christ, the true Son of righteousness. So it's telling you that he was worshiping both, right? He was and in other words, he was double-minded and it says here to his pagan and his Christian subjects, but he distinctly permitted the culture of farms and vineyards in the country because frequently this could be attended to on no other day. So, so well. So this is just basically in a nutshell showing how this day was set aside, the first day of the week rather, was set aside to be their so-called Christian Shabbat. So again, the civil sanction of observance of Sunday and other festivals of the church. And the thing that he created here, as I highlighted here, is of using Friday to observe the memory of the Messiah's death. So this is where you get the day and a half from. He created Good Friday. Constantine created Good Friday. So he is the architect, so to speak, the creator of the day and a half resurrection. He is the creator of it and made it official that among the Christian, or should I say Catholic Church, that Sunday will be their etched in stone, their official day of worship. All right. All right. So the Messiah prophesied of his resurrection in Matthew chapter 12, verse 39. This is what I was going to get to. So this is what it says. But he answered and said unto them, an evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no signs be given to it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. Now, when we get to verse 40, notice what it says. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, right? He made it clear. This is not an idiom. For 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. So he made it clear. He said 3 days and 3 nights. 3 days, this is the daylight, 12-hour daylight part of the day. So this right here, plus 3 nights, we get the full 24-hour cycle. Get the full 24-hour cycle. Right? 36 hours in the 3 days, 36 hours in the night portion of the day, which gives you 3 full days. It's not an idiom. So he also says, told them that they were seeking signs, right? Said they were adulterous generation seeking after signs. So I want to make it clear, seeking a sign or seeking signs from Yahweh, it's not a sin. It's the motive behind those seeking signs that makes it a sin. That's the key, because we see Gideon asked for a sign. He wasn't in sin, but it's the motives behind it. So how can we reconstruct the Hebrew calendar, right? How can we tie all of this into what we just touched on? How? Now we got to deal with the day of the Passover, because the day of the Passover, if we identify the day of the Passover, then guess what we just did? We identified the day of the Messiah's resurrection, because his resurrection ties right in. 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 Okay? It starts with understanding 360-day calendar. Now, I know some will go around saying that based upon, I believe, Enoch, the book of Enoch, 354 days. The ancient Israelites, right? When we look at Torah, you're not going to find a 29 day, a 29.5 day. You're going to find 30 day, 1 month, 30 day, 12-month calendars. And I'm going to show that, prove that to you. It starts with understanding the 360-day calendar. There were 30 cultures around the world that used 360-day year with 12 30-day months. The Hindus, right? They had a 360-day calendar, right? And I'm just giving you a little information here. This is Velikovsky Emmanuel. His book titled Worlds in Collision got great information, got other sources, but I'm just going to use this here. He makes it clear, right? The text of the Veda period known a year for only 360 days. All Veda text speaks uniformly and exclusively of a year of 360 days. So this is making it clear, 360 days, right? And this is giving you more information here. It says the Hindu year, 360 days, is divided into 12 months of 30 days. Let's go to another one, the Persians. Same thing, as you see, it's highlighted here. The ancient Persian year was composed of 360 days or 12 months of 30 days each, right? And this is giving more details on it, but I'm not going to get into the details. But I just want to share this with you, show you, a source here. Then when we deal with the Babylonians, guess what? The Babylonians, as you see here, the old Babylonian year was composed of 360 days. All right. And it says here the ancient Babylonian year had only 360 days, was known before the cuneiform script was deciphered. All right. So Babylon says 360 furlongs in a compass. So this just give you more clarity on that. The Egyptians, 360 days. The Egyptian year was composed of 360 days before it became 365 days, 365 by the addition of 5 days, right? So initially it was only 360 days. But now, what with the Egyptians, eventually they added 5 days were added to it. Okay. And this is just giving you more information on that. Okay. I'm just fast forwarding a little bit. Israel, right? This highlights Israel, right? The month of the Israelites from the 15th to the 18th century before the present era was equal to 30 days and 12 months, comprised a year, right? There is no mention of months shorter than 30 days, nor of a year longer than 12 months. Okay. So this is giving clarity as well. But when we go to the scriptures, Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 8, notice what it says. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab. How many days? 30 days. Deuteronomy 21, verse 13, just giving examples of 30-day months. It says here, right? And she shall put raiment, of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house. And it says, and be well her father and mother a full month. So we know that a full month is what? Just what I'm pointing out, 30 days. Right? You'll see Chadash, right? For month here, meaning renew. And after that, thou shalt go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. So here's additional proof that 360-day calendars within the Israelites. When we go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 6, notice what you see here. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. So when we break this down, right, 1,260 days divided by 30, that gives us 42 months. In other words, this means that this is 3.5 years, right? 1,260 days divided by 30 equals 42. 42 divided by 12 is 3.5 years. That's right inside our face, right inside Revelation, right? But we don't even have to go there. We could go into other places to confirm this as well. So Israel used a 360-day year and 12 30-day month calendar. So with knowing that, because I took out some of the additional sources so that way this presentation wouldn't be too long. But let's reconstruct the calendar. It starts by identifying the first Shabbat. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 16, verse 1. When you go here, it says, and they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. So make a note of this. Make a note of this passage here. Why is this important? What's the significance of the 15th day? Well, Israel arrived in the wilderness of Sin on the 15th day of the second month. So is the 15th day a day of rest? And we're going to answer this question. When we go to Exodus 16, again, we still here. Make sure we still here, right? I'm making sure we still in chapter 16. But now we're going to highlight a couple of verses here, verse 4 and 5, to prove this. So it says, then said Yahweh unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them, whether they will walk in my law or no. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. Okay, let's delve into this. So the 15th day of the second month, guess what? I'm going to prove to you that it is a Shabbat, because the 15th day is a Shabbat. So they're getting instructions on what to do for the next 6 days to rest on the 7th day. Let me prove this. So the 15th day of the second month, this is where they came to this point right here. Now they're getting these instructions from Moses on what to do for the next, 6 days, right? The children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin. That's Exodus chapter 16, verse 1 that we highlighted, right? This is the 15th day. And I'm going to show you that this is a Shabbat. So on the 15th day, Moses shared with the Israelites what to expect on the next day. Let's prove it here. Verse 6 and 7. And Moses and Aaron said unto the children of Israel, at even, right, the evening, 6 p.m., then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out of the land of Egypt. Right? Now we're going into what? Another day. Right? We're on a Shabbat, but at evening, now that transitions into what day? The first day of the week. Right? And in the morning, then ye shall see the glory of and the glory kabawad, right, of Yahweh. For that he heareth Shemai your murmurings against Yahweh. And what are we that ye murmur against us? So we see that Moses is sharing with them at the evening, which is going to transition to another day. So at the evening, which starts another day, but then when we get to the morning portion of that day, he's saying that they're going to see the glory of the Most High, of Yahweh. I'm not going to get into the murmuring. You guys already know murmuring, what it means. Well, I'll just read it real quick since it's up. When you murmur, it means you're stopping. It means you're staying, you refuse to move forward. In other words, to stay permanent, to obstinate, to abide, grudge. All right. So at evening, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out of the land of Egypt. Right. So now let's get back to this calendar. Right. Remember, right. Moses said at evening. Right. They're dealing with the Shabbat right here. But it says, at evening, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath bought you, right? And this is Exodus chapter 6. So at evening. So this is the Shabbat. Now they're getting ready to get into the evening, which transitions to the first day of the week, because a day, as we shared with Genesis chapter 1, from evening, right? That's when the day start, the evening, and then you have the day, right? The daylight portion of the day, right? Which is, again, that's the first day. And you see that for each day of creation. All right. So Moses and Aaron went before the people and declared Yah's instructions, his promise and instructions. In the evening, Yahweh would use his provision to provide, to prove that it was he who saved them and brought them out of the land of the Egyptian slavery. So in the morning, Yahweh will use his provision to prove his glory. So on the next day, right, here it is, right, giving you a visual, at evening, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you, in other words, dealing with Exodus, right, 16:6. So remember, this is the evening portion of the day where it starts, and that's the 16th. So he gave them these instructions on the 15th. He said at evening, which is the 16th, right, starting at the dark portion of the day, right, they're going to know, they're going to see the glory of the Most High. So the evening of the 16th day begins as sundown, right, at sundown, 6 p.m. on the Shabbat of the 15th day, as we just highlighted. So, and it came to pass that at evening, so going back here, verse 13, and it came to pass, so they got the instructions. Now look at what's happening. What happened at the evening? It says, and it came to pass at even, right? Soon as the 16th kicked in, right after the Shabbat, and it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay around round about the host. So here it is. At evening, all these quails, soon as the Shabbat was over, all these quails came. It was a migration that took place and covered the camp. And in the morning, the dew lay round about the host, right? So it shall come to pass that on the 6th day, so on the 15th day of the second month, just want to reiterate this, Israel was given instructions for the upcoming 7 days. So they they were instructed to work the next 6 days and gather double on the 6th day and rest on the 7th. That's what we read, right? So on the 16th day of the second month, Israel witnessed the miracle of Yah, executed Yah's instruction, and began to gather manna for the next 6 days. So that morning of the next day, right, that next day starting at evening, so after the night passed, after the quails done migrated there, and that morning is when they began to collect, right? So let's do this again. Go to our calendar here. The 15th day of the second month, the 15th, it came to pass that at evening the quails came up, right? So that would be, as we highlighted, let me go back here, right? The evening is what started the 16th day. As we highlighted, so to a new day at the beginning of the week, the first day of the week, after Shabbat had ended. In the evening, right, they rested, but in the morning, right, is when they all rose up, right, and start gathering the quails as instructed. All right, as we highlighted here, it came to pass that at evening the quails came up, just giving you a visual, and then we go to Numbers chapter 11, verse 31. Right, get some more some additional confirmation here. And there went forth a wind from Yahweh and brought quails from the sea and let them fall by the camp, and as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth. So a wind, right? Rawak. Some of you guys will say ruach, not getting into the semantics, but a wind, rawak, from Yahweh, and brought quails, shalah, from the sea. All right. So again, this is describing a quail migration. All right. So let me prove something here since we're here. This is coming from The Guardian, titled Egypt is the worst place to be a migratory bird. Notice what it says here. And it's confirming what I just read to you about the migration. August marks the steward of the annual migration of millions of birds from their European breeding areas to their wintering grounds in Africa. Many will fly across the eastern Mediterranean towards Egypt, where they will land exhausted on the coast along which hundreds of kilometers of trappers' nets have been spanned to create the unbroken wall of death on the seaside dunes. These nets will catch at least 150 million birds this year, according to one biologist estimate. More than 1 in 20 of the migrant birds leaving Europe for Africa. Leaving where? Europe for Africa, right? So there is also an ancient city in the territory of Judah where people, Israel, decided to eat chicken. Let me highlight that for those that are saying that you're not supposed to eat chicken, even though chicken and quail are from the same bird, right? They're from the same family, but I ain't getting into all of that. Second Chronicles chapter 14, verse 10. Just giving you a couple of additional history, a little additional history. And there came out against them Zerah, the Ethiopian, with an host of 1,300 chariots, and came into Marishah. All right, in the ancient Hebrew, Marishah. All right. Then Asa went out against them, and they set the battle in an array in the valley of Zephathah, and it says at Maresh, right? And it says, in a nutshell, after 10 years of peace, Judah was invaded by Zerah the Cushite with Yah's help. Asa achieved a stunning victory over the invaders, and this victory occurred in Mareshah. All right. So let's see what Mareshah is. Let's see how this ties into where I'm going at with this. So this is the ancient Israelite city of Judah. So Mareshah or Marashah is an ancient city of Judah where Judah ate plenty of chicken, right? This is coming from the ancient city where people decided to eat chicken. An ancient city, abandoned city in Israel, has revealed part of the story of how the chicken turned into one of the pillars of the modern Western diet. The city, now an archaeological site, is called Mareshah. It flourished in the Hellenistic period from 400 to 200 BCE. The surprising thing was not that chickens lived there. There's evidence that humans have kept chickens around for thousands of years, starting in Southeast Asia and China. But those older sites contain just a few scattered chicken bones. People were raising those chicken for cockfighting or for special ceremonies. The birds apparently weren't considered much of a food. In Mareshah, though, something changed. The site contained more than 1,000 chicken bones. You know that's our people. They were very, very well preserved. They just made sure they got that meat off that bone, made it fossilized. Anyway, so again, it says here, Gal could see knife marks on them from butchering. There were twice as many bones from female birds as males. These chickens apparently were being raised for their meat, not for cockfighting. So did Judah break the law by eating chicken? That's a whole nother discussion. So let's get back to it. Let's identify another Shabbat. I just want to highlight a migration here as we were talking about. So verse 21, and they gathered it every morning, every man according to eating, to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. So they gathered what they were going to eat for that day, not trying to, hoard or anything like that. You know how our people are. We start trying to hustle. Hey, got that fresh manna here anyway. So got the fresh quails, right? But anyway, and they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. Verse 22, and it came to pass that on the sixth day, they gathered twice as much bread. Now, this is the 6th day. This is now that the 6th day following the 15th. And we're going to give you a visual here. Much as bread to Omer for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh has said. Tomorrow is what? The rest of the holy Shabbat unto Yahweh. So here it is. They're on the 6th day. And they're saying what? Tomorrow is the Shabbat. So bake that which ye will bake today. In other words, do all what you have to do today. Right? Remember, they doubled up on what they collected. So it was sustained them through the Shabbat. So it says, and that which remaineth overlay up for you to be kept until the morning. So that was the exception. On the Shabbat, they double up. The stuff will not spoil. So they got just enough to eat for the 6th day and also the Shabbat. So now we're going back to this calendar. I mean, this dial here. So tomorrow is the rest of the holy Shabbat. So now we seeing that here it is on the 6th day, right, which is a week later from the 15th. We're seeing another Shabbat, right, that they're going to rest. It says tomorrow is the rest of the holy Shabbat. So at evening is what where that day kicks in. The Shabbat kicks in. So Exodus 16, verse 26. 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Shabbat, in it there shall be none. But anyway, notice what we did. We highlighted. So far, we identified the 15th. And remember, from the 1st day through the 6th day, that will be the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, right? This will be the 6th day after the Shabbat here. So now the next day will be the 22nd, which is a Shabbat. So see how we're putting it together. We're in the 2nd month. The 15th was a Shabbat. The 16th is when the quails came, and they began to gather for 6 days, but double up on the 21st. But guess what? We just identified 2 Shabbats in the 2nd month, right? So I'm just highlighting the information here. So Yahweh said, and this is Exodus 16, verse 13, Yahweh said, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Shabbat unto Yahweh. All right? And then we see here, but on the 7th day, which is the Shabbat, right? And this is what we're saying here. But on the 7th day, so this is the Shabbat that we're referring to. Okay, so constructing the Hebrew calendar, let's recap real quick. Israel arrived in the wilderness on the 15th day of the 2nd month. On the next morning, the 1st day of the week, which is the 16th day of the 2nd month, Israel began to gather manna for 6 days. After the 6th day of the gathering manna comes the next day, which is the weekly Shabbat, the 7th day Shabbat, right? So we already identified 2 Shabbats. So the 15th day of the 2nd month was a weekly Shabbat. The 22nd day was a weekly Shabbat. Now that we identified 2 7-day Shabbats, we can fully reconstruct the 2nd month, because we reconstruct the 2nd month, we can reconstruct the 1st month, right? So here it is. Now I know I didn't do my animations here, so let me go ahead and fix this real quick so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. And I hope this is helping you guys out. Oh, let me go to, that's the tabernacle. Let me go here. And we almost done here. We're almost done here. All right, let me see here. Animation. Let me add some animation here. All right. All right, that's better. All right, here we go. All right, let's go back here. Almost done, family. Almost done. So the 15th day, right? Exodus 16:1, that's the Shabbat. Then on the Exodus 16:26, right, which makes the 22nd, confirms that the 22nd is a Shabbat. So we done identified 2 Shabbats. So then when we fill it in, right, and I'm going to take this out real quick. When we fill it in, I should have taken. Let me animate this again. Let me put a close. I remove the. Hey, let me do something else here. So that way it does what I wanted to do. All right. Let me make this float out. All right, here we go. Excuse me, clear my throat. So when we take this out, it didn't work like I wanted to do. Oh, that's going to another slide. Oh, well. So, but we see, I was trying to get this out of the way, but anyway, but we see how the other days, when we fill it out, we have the 15th, 22nd, these two Shabbats. So now we have the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. Remember, 30-day months. So we already identified pretty much we could fill out the rest of these days. So the very first Shabbat of the second month, the day before that, which would be the 6th, that's the 30th of the first month. So the second month of the calendar is complete. Let's map out the 7th-day Shabbat of the first month of Exodus, right? So we cannot, so we now can pinpoint the first Passover occurring on a Wednesday. Here we go. So this is the second month, as I pointed out here. Let me just see here. Let me remove some of these items. Oh, see if I could do that here. Yeah, let me just remove these so that way you can get a clearer picture. All right. So this is the second month. Going back here, let me make sure. Yeah, this is the second month. So we removed that here. So now we see the whole calendar filled in, right? This is the first month, but this is the second month. So we see the two Shabbats that we identified, right? The Shabbat before that would have been the 8th, then the first. So we had the 1st, 8th, 15th, and the 29th. We have actually 15th, 22nd, and 29th. So we have 5 Shabbats in the second month. Now we see with the 30th, and now we could go backwards here because we know this is it's the first month right here. So let's go to the next slide. So as we see here, this is the first from the second month, which was a Shabbat. So now if we backdate it, as we see here, the 30th, now we see the first from the second month, but the 24th of the first month, the 17th of the first month, the 10th of the first month, the 3rd of the first month. So we identified all of the Shabbats inside the first month. Now we can pinpoint and make sense of what we see here. We could pinpoint the actual day that the Messiah was lynched. Then we got identified the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is a Shabbat. So these would be Shabbats here, right? These 3 days would be Shabbats. On the 18th, right? Because these are more than one Shabbat, and that's the confusion, right? We'll deal with that another time. But the 14th, the middle of the week, the 15th, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, Shabbat, 16th and 17th, these are Shabbats here because it was a week of Shabbats. That's what you don't hear and many miss when they're explaining this. So on the 10th is where the land was secured, right? The Passover and their preparation would have been on the 14th, right? So just what we highlighted. So the first Passover fell on the 4th day of the week, which is a Wednesday, as we proved. So the first Passover fell on the 14th day of the month, which we just proved. So what day was the Hamashiach, the Messiah, crucified? I just gave you the answer, and we'll do that in episode 3. So as you can see here, this is the day he was crucified. This was the day that he entered into the city. It was on a Shabbat on the donkey, right? Being paraded around as he went into the temple and tipped over those tables. So that was on a Shabbat. We could prove that. That was on a Shabbat. So we just proved that the 10th secured the land, but also the Messiah entered into the city when they was crying out, Hosanna. We could confirm that it would have been the 14th day of the month, the middle of the week, where the Messiah was lynched. Hallelujah. So we're going to stop right here. I know I gave you a lot of information. I know I gave you guys a lot of information. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. Any comments or questions, family? I hope this helps. Let me go ahead and do this here. All right, we made good time getting through it. All right, we made great time getting through this. And I hope this helps you out. So, again, another key with identifying, because we created the calendar, the very first calendar, and I didn't put it here, but the first day of the month for Israel, the new year, right, for Israel would be the first new moon after the spring equinox. I want to say peace and blessings to my sister Ashonda at large. Peace and blessings to you, my sister. So, again, Israel's new year, right? Abib is not the name of a month. Abib is a season, right? The first month, the first day of the new month for Israel would have been the first new moon after the spring equinox. The spring equinox generally is between the 21st or the 20th through the 22nd. So whenever is that spring equinox, right? Not the new moon, because many would say the full moon, rather, the full moon, the first full moon afterwards, right? No, it's the new moon after the spring equinox. That will be Israel's first day. Then you can calculate when the Passover is. You can actually put your calendar together from there. All right. Especially knowing that Israel has nothing but the ancient calendar's 30-day months. And that will help you calculate the calendar, the feast days for yourself. So again, family, as my sister Carol posted here, said again, guess what? Abib is a season. Just like we say the spring, Abib is a season. Right? It is a season. It's not the name of a month. That is the time of what? The harvest, the ripe harvest, right? When we deal with the corn and the grain. And when Israel, when the Pesach took place, it was right at that time because Israel was ripe and ready to come out of be delivered. So I hope this helps you. I want to say peace and blessings to everyone. I see my sister Carol here. See, let's see who else we have here. I want to say peace and blessings to you, Amiraya, Mizra, Yisrael. Appreciate you for tuning in tonight. Really appreciate this, sis. And again, Ashonda, my sister here, who put in a lot of work, man. Put in a lot of work. She is doing a lot of work for in this awakening. I want to say peace and blessings to you. See my sister Carol here. Shalom to you as well. Yaquaba, brother, been supporting. We woke now, even from almost from when we first started. We woke now. So really appreciate you for what you're doing here. Really appreciate you. All right. So again, family, we're going to do a few more episodes of this leading up to the Passover, just so that way you guys get clarity. All right. Just so that way you guys get clarity. And I see someone posting about posting a scripture here. I encourage you, go watch the lessons I did. He's not here. It's 3 parts. And I explain exactly what Abib is. Abib is not a month, name of a month. Abib is a season, just like we say spring, the time of the harvest. All right. But nevertheless, because if you study the scriptures, Moses made nothing but references to the months with numbers, the first month, the second month, the third month, the fourth month, right? When you start getting into the Babylonian captivity is when you start seeing these names that we see today. So I just want to give you clarity on that. When you start getting into the Babylonian captivity, that's where you start seeing those names appearing. All right. So again, this is how we start really. This is how you calculate. Okay. So this is why I want to make sure that we have it laid out so that way you guys can go back over, listen to this lesson again, and also go into the playlist, right? Foundational. There is some full three lessons. They are pretty extensive. That's covering some of the stuff. I'm covering the stuff that I'm covering right now. It's just here I kind of broke it up a little bit and didn't make it as long as the initial lessons. But I hope this helps you right here, right? So when we understand the new moon, right? The new moon, Kadash, right? When you understand that, that new moon is the first new moon after the spring equinox. The spring equinox was the Egyptians' New Year's, the Romans' New Year's, the Babylonians' New Year's. That's why the Most High said to Israel, you know what? That's not going to be your New Year. Your New Year is going to be the first new moon after the spring equinox, after their so-called new moons. Yours is going to be separate from them. Your New Year's is going to be separate from there. And again, this time of the year, ancient Israel was dealing with what? They were dealing with suppression. They was dealing with spiritual wickedness. They was dealing with spiritual warfare. That's where you start getting into the 10 plagues. Those 10 plagues was spiritual warfare that Israel had to go through, that the Yahweh covered his people, and that's where he actually delivered his people from that spiritual warfare that occurred at that time. All right. I know I didn't even realize I still had this poll going, but I'm going to close out this poll right now. Let me end this poll. Appreciate all the participation. Right. So I see 12% think that the first day of the week was the Shabbat, but that's incorrect. That's something that the Catholic Church instituted. All right. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. But I just want to take some time out here and kind of deal with this topic here. Let's see here. So let me just look here. All right. All right. Just looking at here. All right. All right. So we'll get into the Shabbat. If you understand what days, because when you start looking at the lunar calendar, many try to make every seventh day, like right when we say the seventh day, the first day of the week to be Sunday, the second day of the week, Tuesday, third day of the week, Wednesday, and so forth. That's where you start getting into a lot of issues, because if you understand the 360-day calendar, I just proved to you that every day of the month, every month is not going to be exactly the same. And I got scripture that I can also teach on the lunar that proves that every month the seventh didn't fall on the Shabbat. All right. But anyway, family, I'm not going to get into all of that. I don't want to take away from where we are right now, but I hope this blesses you guys, give you something to help you get a better understanding of when the Passover is. Right. So again, just go with the calculation I just provided. I didn't include it here, but again, the New Year's for Israel is the first new moon, not full moon, the first new moon after the spring equinox. The first new moon, right? And then you'll get to calculating the past, because some would just say do the first full moon after the spring equinox to be the Passover. All right. So again, I'll say it again. The first new moon, the moment that moon cracked that sky, that's a new moon. And then the full moon, right, is where you getting into the Passover, because remember, Israel traveled that night. They left at night. They left at the height of the night. You know what I mean? It wasn't during the day portion like you see in the movie. Israel, the Most High had them jet at it was at night. but the moon served as a light through the Most High to them, help illuminate the night. All right. But family, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I got to take it down. I got to get up early here. But I really appreciate you guys. I know YouTube look like people having problems with the chat. As you can see, YouTube is not putting out the notifications. They've been doing a lot to suppress this channel. They demonetized it after 5 months over some nonsense. And I got all the receipts to prove that there's an agenda behind this. A lot of our people within our community is being demonetized for no reason, basically. But anyway, they demonetized the channel, trying to push strikes on videos that's been sitting here for years. They're doing a number of things. They are. I've been sitting at 39,700, just over 700 for almost 4 months now, when this channel normally on worst case scenario still averages about 1,500 new subscribers every month. But they literally doing a lot to suppress this, and especially I believe right around the time when I when I put out there put the Road to Savannah 2 out, it seemed like they really kicked it into gear about doing everything they can to shadow ban this channel. Right. As you can see, I've been stuck at 39,000 for quite some time, and 39,700 to be exact, for quite some time. So I proved to you guys how they are. If you click the notification button, like when we did with the Road to Savannah 2, go back and watch the video, that live video. I literally show you guys how I clicked on notification and then they unclicked it, purposely doing that. So they're doing everything they can and put all kinds of disclaimers to hard for the video. So I shared those, shared it with you guys, doing a live showing what they're actually doing to this channel to suppress this channel. But family, if you want to show support, the Cash App is is right at the top of the chat. And for those that the moderators, if you want to post it again, that'll be great. Or actually, I can do it right now since I'm here. For anyone that wants to contribute to the works that we're doing. All right, I just put the Cash App in again. But thank you, family. I'm going to take it down. Love you guys and be encouraged. In the words of Moses, actually the words of the Most High that he gave to Moses to give to the people. He said to them, right, because they were complaining about, that they should have stayed in Egypt. The Most High gave them these encouraging words. He said, "Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh." These Egyptians that you see here today, you will never have to deal with them again. They will not have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you, but you have to hold your peace. And the Hebrew word inside that text is charash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.